Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome. For our next face to face, I have with me our guest Prakash Singh, who has served as DGP of Uttar Pradesh and Assam. He has also served as Chief of Border Security Force. Singh is Padma Shri Awardee, and he is widely recognized as the chief architect of police reforms in India. His landmark petition in the Supreme Court led to his historic 2006 judgment mandating systemic changes in policing. Singh has spent decades advocating for accountability, autonomy, and modernization of the police force. Today, I'm going to discuss with him on why India has failed to implement Supreme Court's historic judgment on police reform, which came 19 years ago. Key challenges to police reform and what should be the way forward. Welcome, sir, to our next episode of Expert Insights. Pleasure to have you in our show.
Hmm.
Sir, on 22nd September, it was 19th anniversary of the historic judgment on police reform. Are you satisfied with the way it has been implemented so far, or are you disappointed?
You see, I'm not disappointed, but I'm not fully satisfied also.
Yeah.
You see, the Supreme Court judgment, if it had been properly implemented, and you see, 19 years have gone by, that's a long enough time for any judgment to be implemented. But unfortunately, the bureaucracy and the political class have taken an adversarial attitude because they think that if the judgment is implemented, it will, I mean, they will not have the kind of control which they have currently over police department, and the manner in which they are using it or misusing it or abusing it, all that will come to a halt, and police will become accountable to the law of the land and the people of the country. I mean, that may be an ideal situation to have, but that does not suit the political class and the bureaucracy. They together they constitute the executive, and the executive wants that they should be able to retain their stranglehold over the police in the same manner as the Britishers did. Now, the British were an imperial power; they had come here to rule.
Yeah.
They had not come here to build a welfare state or promote the happiness and the welfare of the people. They had come here to rule and to exploit the resources of the country as best as they possibly could, and give some minimum welfare measures to the people, which would keep them happy and not drive them to rebellion. That was their attitude. But now that you have a you are a free country, and that now that you are a democratic republic, the police should be able to satisfy the democratic aspirations of the people for a welfare state, for a police which is accountable to the law of the land, for a police which is people friendly, and a police which upholds the rule of law under all circumstances, irrespective of the party in power. That is the kind of people, that is the kind of police which people of the country want. But that system has not yet been ushered in uh, by. I mean, it would have made, they would have made some progress if they had implemented the Supreme Court directions. But the directions have not been implemented in letter and spirit. I mean, they have made a show of implementing the directions. But if you examine what they have done, mind you, some states have passed executive orders and some states have passed laws on the subject. Because the Supreme Court had said that you should pass, I mean, you could pass a law on the basis of these directions. And once a law is passed, you will, I mean, you go beyond the purview and beyond the monitoring of Supreme Court. So some states have passed on the executive orders and some states have passed laws. Now, when we started examining these orders and these laws, we find that in letter and spirit, they are they are all violative of the Supreme Court directions. I mean, there is a very clever attempt to circumvent the implementation of the directions. Superficially, they give an impression that yes, something has been done and something has been done in compliance with the Supreme Court directions. But actually, it is something, whatever they have done is very minimal. And the effort has been that by and large, they should still be able to retain their control over the police.
The judgment laid out seven directives to insulate the police from political interference. Which of these directives do you consider the most crucial for real reform in the police?
The one directive which is relevant from the point of view of insulating police from outside influences That is the State Security Commission.
Yeah.
Now, the State Security Commission, uh, its composition was the Supreme Court said 50% people from the government and 50% representatives of the civil society, so that it is evenly balanced between government representatives and people's representatives. And Supreme Court said that the representatives from the civil society should be men of great integrity, men whose who are held in high esteem by the civil society and who are known for their integrity and for their progressive views. So that was supposed to be the composition of the State Security Commission, and the function of the State Security Commission was twofold. Twofold in the sense that on the one hand, they will ensure that the police follows the letter of the law and does not transgress the limits laid down by the criminal laws.
Yeah.
Secondly, the objective was that government will not interfere in the day-to-day functioning of the police.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to maintain a balance between the government and the police, that the government does not interfere in the functioning of the police, and police follows the letter of the law. So that was supposed to be the role of the State Security Commission, and it was laid down that Security Commission will lay down the broad parameters of policy which the police will have to follow. Now, what the states have done? Now, the states, as I said, they have tried to very cleverly circumvent the implementation of court's directions. So, what they have done, all right, they have taken 50% representatives from the government, and then the remaining 50% people who were to be taken from the civil society, they have taken from the civil society, but they have selected such members of civil society who are known to be pro government.
Yeah.
Now, if they are known to be pro-government, then it becomes a government-dominated body. I mean, the State Security Commission wanted that independent-minded people should be there. They should not be uh, under the influence of the government, and they should be able to express their opinion freely and frankly, irrespective of government pressure. But they generally select people who are known to be pro-government, so that it becomes a pro-government body. So the purpose of State Security Commission gets defeated when you dilute or I mean dilute or adulterate the composition of the Security Commission. Then it was also said by the Supreme Court that any recommendation made by the Security Commission will be binding on the government. Now, most of the states, except one or two, most of the states have said that these are the recommendation. Any recommendation by the commission will be recommendatory. Now, if it becomes recommendatory, then you see, the state government can reject all the recommendations, and it will still be uh, government will be controlling the police. So the purpose of sort of constituting the State Security Commission was to create a high-powered body between the police and the government, which, as I said, will restrain government from interfering in the day-to-day functioning of the police, and which will keep police under restraint. Uh, Police under restraint means you don't commit brutal acts, you don't perpetrate false encounters, etc., etc. So that purpose gets defeated because the body they have generally so constituted that it becomes a totally pro-government body. And besides, what is worse, the recommendations are not binding on the government. So, so if they're not binding on the government, then the government will continue to do whatever they want. So this is how this institution of State Security Commission, which was very important and very relevant to insulate police from outside pressures, this has been subverted by by the states. So this is how they have subverted all the directions.
Yeah. So, how do you view the argument by some states that policing is a state subject under the Constitution and hence the central or judiciary cannot impose uniform reforms?
No, this see on the face of it, it looks relevant,
Yeah.
but if you examine it in depth, it is not so relevant. You see, now BJP is in power at the center, and how many states are BJP controlled? Maybe 8 or 10. I don't know. I don't know the exact number. But if there are 8 or 10 states which are under BJP control in different parts of the country, then whatever directions have been given by the Supreme Court could be implemented A for the union territories which are directly controlled by the center, and for the states where the same party is in power. There should be no difficulty. But now, what the central government has done for the union territories, Mr. Soli Sorabji had drafted a Model Police Act. Now, Model Police Act, the draft was prepared. It was सब कुछ पका पकाया था. But they have been tossing the Model Police Act between the Lieutenant Governor's office of Delhi and between the Home Ministry. Home Ministry says this should be done. LG says no, this should be done. Or like that, they are playing table tennis for the last more than nearly 2 decades. They have not been able to finalize a simple Model Police Act, which had already been drafted by the former Attorney General of India. All they had to do was, with some minor modifications and adjustments here and there, they could have said that this will apply to the union territories. And then they could have prescribed that Model Police Act to all the states and made it compulsory for those state governments where the same party is in power. But they have not done nothing of the sort. They've done nothing of the sort. They have neither finalized the Model Police Act nor have they written to the states that these are the directions of the Supreme Court and you try to comply them to the best of your ability and to the best of your competence. So, I mean, this is an argument which appears plausible, but if you examine it minutely, you find that it does not hold water. And I would say for the remaining states where the opposition parties are in power, you could have always said that, all right, if you implement these reforms, we will give you these extra funds to be able to implement those reforms. Now, separation of investigation from law and order requires extra staff. State government always says we are short of money, so we can't fill up even the existing vacancy. Center could have stepped in and said that, all right, if you are sincere about separation of investigation from law and order, and if you are going to recruit more staff to be able to carry out the separation, we'll give all the money. Besides, they could also have said that, all right, we will release more modernization grant to states which are implementing the Supreme Court directions. But nothing of the kind has been done. So I mean, center has a lot of powers which they could have exercised if they were really serious about police reforms.
Political control over police is often used as the biggest hurdle, which is seen as the biggest hurdle. So, how can this cycle of dependency and misuse be broken? Is there any thing which you believe is in the judgment itself? And has there been any forward in that direction?
The police has to be kept under the executive control. There can be no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But control is one thing, regulation is one thing, and dominance and stranglehold are different.
Yeah.
Now, today, the situation is such that the police is quite often misused and abused and made to function against its charter. And the officers on the spot say कि भाई ये तो हमारे माई बाप हैं, ये हमारे ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग प्रमोशन सब तो यही करते हैं, सस्पेंड भी यही कर सकते हैं, नौकरी से निकाल भी सकते हैं. When that is the power with the center, they say that when that is the power with the government, whether state government or UT government or whatever it is, then the officer on the spot feels helpless. He says कि भाई आप क्या करें, अगर सरकार ही गलत काम कराना चाहती हो, सरकार के हम मातहत हैं, तो हम भी करेंगे, क्या करें, हम नहीं करेंगे तो हमें निकाल दिया जाएगा. So it becomes very difficult. Now, what we had said that, look, state has to supervise the state police. State government must supervise the working of the state. You can't make the police independent also, mind you. If you make it independent properly, it will go berserk and it will create mayhem and it will create all kinds of, perpetrate atrocities and more brutality, more encounters and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So police has to be kept under check. And that check has to be exercised by the government. But that check should be within a framework of policy. Now, government should say that, look, this is the policy. This will be the policy in handling the rioter situation. This will be the policy in handling Maoist problem. This will be the policy in handling separatist problem in J&K. This will be the policy in handling insurgencies in the Northeast. You should government should lay down the broad policy framework. And
Yeah.
having laid down the policy framework, it should leave the details to be filled up by the police. Now, what is happening today, they not only lay down the policy, they keep poke their nose into the day-to-day affairs.
Yeah.
Now there is a riot situation, and then they will somebody will ring up from the state capital. भाई वो कप्तान साहब उसका नाम एफआईआर से निकाल दीजिए. कप्तान साहब उसका नाम एफआईआर में डाल दीजिए. मतलब if the rogue or if the writer he belongs to your party, you would want him to be taken off the FIR, and you would like to phasao the opposite party's leader, even whether he's involved or not involved. That is the attitude today, and that is what is happening every day. I mean, a few weeks back, you would have seen there was an IPS officer in Solapur district of Maharashtra, and then Krishna, probably that was her name, and she was trying to investigate some illegal mining in her subdivision. At that time, Pawar comes on phone and he harasses her and harangues her कि भाई तुम उसको छोड़ दो. तो कहती साहब हमको क्या मालूम कौन बात कर रहा है, आप डिप्टी मिनिस्टर हैं, आप अपने फ़ोन से मुझे फ़ोन करिए, डायरेक्टली मेरे फ़ोन पे करिए. You see, it appears that she was given the phone used by the contact, by the criminal.
Yeah.
That criminal would have contacted Ajit Pawar, and then Ajit Pawar would have said कि भाई तुम वो डिप्टी साहब एएसपी साहब को दे दो. So the phone was given to the lady was very polite but very firm. Now, what I am saying that such incidents of politicians giving unlawful directions to officers in the field are a matter of daily occurrence. Are a matter of daily occurrence, and this is what create problems for the police. I mean, when a deputy chief minister speaks, and unless you can prove to the contrary, you would say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, और फिर ठीक है और जो माफिया है वो भी जाओ जाओ भैया घर जाओ अपना जो माइनिंग करना हो करो. This will be the normal response of an average officer. Very few officers will have the courage to say, "No, sir, this has to be done." So this is the problem really. The problem really, I mean, day-to-day interference, political interference in the day-to-day functioning of the police is the greatest problem which police officers face in the field. Recently, there was a status of policing report prepared by Common Cause and some other NGOs. They had together prepared in 2019, and there one of the findings was that the greatest problem with the police is facing in their day-to-day work is the political interference in their functioning. They are not allowed to function the way they would like to. I'm not saying that the police are all honest. वो भी बदमाशी करते हैं, वो अपने लेवल पे भी वो बेईमानी करते हैं. But सवाल ये है कि in the existing setup, even if you want to work honestly, sincerely, and genuinely, and as per the law of the land, it becomes very, very difficult. It becomes very, very difficult. I mean, this was my traumatic experience in my service कि जब मैं ईमानदारी से काम कर रहा हूँ, बेईमानों के खिलाफ कार्रवाई कर रहा हूँ, तब भी मुझको लोग तंग कर रहे हैं, तब भी लोग मुझसे कह रहे हैं कि सस्पेंड कर देंगे. तो ये क्या बात हुई यार? मैं काम तो ईमानदारी से कर रहा हूँ, बेईमानों के खिलाफ काम कर रहा हूँ, तो अब वो ये है कि वो आप मिनिस्टर साहब के जात के हैं, जिनके खिलाफ आपने अब मैं किसी के खिलाफ एक्शन लूँगा तो आई विल नॉट गो एंड आस्क हिम भैया व्हाट इज़ योर कास्ट? आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डू दैट. फॉर मी, आई मीन द ऑफिसर्स इज़ आइदर ऑनेस्ट और इज़ डिसऑनेस्ट. If you are dishonest, then I'll punish you. I don't care what caste you belong to. Caste का पता करना भी आजकल बड़ा मुश्किल है. वो सब लोग सरनेम उल्टा-सीधा सरनेम लगाए घूम रहे हैं आजकल तो. सब कास्टों में सारा बहुत कन्फ्यूजन है. पता नहीं चलता कौन किस जात का है, जब तक वो ईमानदारी से बता ना दे. वो ईमानदारी से बताता भी नहीं. So, this is very difficult. I mean, political interference, see, political supervision has to be there, political guidance has to be there, political control has to be there, but political interference should not be there, political domination should not be there, political stranglehold should not be there. I accept political supervision, I accept political control, but no day-to-day interference. That is where we need to strike a balance, and that is where politicians need to understand their limits. कि भाई हमको हमारा काम बस पॉलिसी बनाना है और हमारा काम रोजाने के काम में दखल देना नहीं है.
So, sir, in your view, has the lack of fixed tenure for DGPs and other senior officers harmed institutional integrity? How has it impacted the overall image of the police force and we can say police
See,
reform?
what had been happening so far,
Yeah,
that when the post of a DGP falls vacant, the chief minister starts looking at the list of senior officers who are eligible for promotion,
yeah,
and then in that list he wants an officer who is reasonably competent, but definitely pliable.
yeah,
Definitely pliable, who will carry out his orders, right or wrong. कहेगा सर ठीक है, आप आपका हुक्म सिर आँखों पे, आप जिसको कहिएगा हम मार देंगे, जिसको कहिएगा हम बंद कर देंगे, जिसको कहिएगा हम छोड़ देंगे। मैं ऐसे अफ़सरों को जानता हूँ जो अपनी टोपी अभी-अभी डीजी नहीं बने हैं, पर अपनी टोपी मेरे चीफ मिनिस्टर के सामने रख रहे हैं, वो कह रहे हैं सर आपका हुक्म सिर आँखों पे, मैं पार्टी वर्कर की तरह काम करूँगा। ऐसे भी अफ़सर हुए हैं। तो अब वो what does the Neta want? Neta wants somebody who should be pliable, who should be amenable, who can be twisted, who can be manipulated, who will carry out your orders, right or wrong. So the man start looking for officer. भाई ठीक है, ये थोड़ा अफसर काम वाम भी ठीक कर लेता है और जरा हमारी 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 जी हुजूरी करेगा. This is what was happening. So therefore, we went to the Supreme Court and said that no, there should be a procedure whereby only the very competent officers. I mean, one of them gets posted as Director General of Police. And therefore, we said that I mean, you will send the characters of all the eligible officers to the UPSC. They will prepare a panel of 3 officers who are who are senior most and who qualify to be Director General of Police. Now, say one may be 90%, one may be 85%, the third one may be 80%, 80, 85, 90, maybe. So and out of those 3, Chief Minister will have the prerogative to select any of them. Because after all, it is his state. You cannot say that appointment will be done by UPSC. No, appointment will be done by Chief Minister. Only that his range of choice is limited. आप उल्टे सीधे अफसर नहीं पोस्ट कर सकते, आपको इसी 3 में से चुनना पड़ेगा. So ये था कि even if the 80% boy gets selected to be DGP, even then he's good enough. He will deliver. Maybe 95% wala does not get selected. So what? 80% is also good enough. But the chief minister, you cannot say that to the chief minister, we'll appoint DGP appointed by the central government and through the UPSC. That can't be happened. He must have the choice, but the range of choice was limited. And it was said that once he is selected, he'll get a tenure of 2 years. Now, 2 years it was said because earlier what was happening, that if something went wrong, within 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months, the man was changed. And see, when you are commanding a force of, say, I mean, it could be anything from 60,000 to 3 lakhs. I mean, UP has nearly 3 lakh force now. Now, you can't, the Supreme Court in a judgment of Sen Kumar case, I think that was the judgment, they have said that, look, you cannot equate it, even the Chief Secretary and the DGP. DGP is commanding a big force. He's a leader, he's a commander, he's a general. Chief Secretary's work can be done by another bureaucrat, there is no problem. But here is a man who commands the loyalty and the respect and give command to such a big force. You can't dismiss him just like that. You can't shift him just like that. Once he's there, give him at least a minimum tenure. Mind you, National Police Commission had said 3 years. I said, भाई 3 years कहाँ चलेगा आजकल, बड़ा मुश्किल है, 2 साल भी चल जाए तो बहुत है. तो मैंने कहा कि we reduced that to 2 years and Supreme Court said all right, 2 years is fine. So we said that within 2 years, then you have enough time to uh, frame policies and take a long-term view of problems and come up with the right solutions for difficult problems. But if you are all the time, if you have the Damocles sword hanging over your head, and you think that भाई हम तो शायद 6 महीने में निकाल दिए जाएं, हम शायद 3 महीने में निकाल दिया, तो फिर then all your attention and all your energy will be diverted to keeping the political masters happy. So if you have to remove him, then his removal will have to be approved by the State Security Commission. Not the chief minister can't say that if you are going before time, then chief minister can't remove him. Chief Minister will refer that to State Security Commission, and State Security Commission will also be satisfied and approve it. Then alone the DGP. Now, whether it is good for the institution or not, well, I think it's very good for the institution because while it gives him a tenure, it also says that if you misbehave, I mean, 2 साल के लिए कोई आपकी ज़िम्मेदारी नहीं हो गई कि आप उसमें लूट-पाट करिए, बलात्कार करिए, वुमनाइज़िंग करिए और सब दारू बेचिए और उसके बाद भी आप डीजीपी। If there are serious complaints of indiscipline, misconduct, moral turpitude, then you will be charged under the All India Services Act and then removed from it. So there is provision for removal also. So this was a very good judgment, and I think we should, we should uphold it and support it.
Yeah. Sir, do you think the Supreme Court should have enforced its judgment more stringently instead of leaving it to a state for the implementation of police reform?
I entirely agree with you. The Supreme Court should have been more strict in handling the states.
Yeah.
It has somehow been very indulgent
Yeah.
in its attitude to the states. You see, in this long struggle since 2006, when the judgment was given, at different periods of time, I came up with contempt petitions.
Yeah.
That, my lords, these are the states which are most defiant today.
Yeah.
As on date, these are the most defiant states. This is their list, and I gave them all the points on which they were defaulting.
Yeah.
And it was so very clear, so very apparent that yes, these states are not complying. But not one notice, contempt notice was issued to any state during the last 2 decades. In fact, I would say only 2 judges have shown great seriousness in ensuring the implementation and showing some kind of commitment to implementing the Supreme Court rules. One was Justice Kapadia, he was from Maharashtra, and the other was Justice Singhvi from Rajasthan. These 2 judges, I salute them for their commitment to police reforms and whatever they try to do during their tenure. But you see, the problem is in this particular case. You see, what happens at any hearing, the states are represented by their own advocates. Now, out of 28 states, at least 20 lawyers will be there. 20 lawyers on one side and only one lawyer to support the petitioner on the other side, with a with an aging petitioner whispering something to his advocate कि सर इसमें भूषण साहब इसमें ये बोल दीजिए, इसमें ये बोल दीजिए, और वहां तो 20 एडवोकेट बैठे हुए हैं. So the judges get overawed by this what I say unequal force from 2 sides. The petitioner supported by one advocate and the respondents by 8, 15, 16, 20 advocates, and all of them vociferously opposing. So they get overawed. But 2 judges, they showed commitment and some kind of a crusading zeal. But Justice Kapadia also ultimately he gave up hope. So there is so much of opposition that it's very difficult to push it through. And Justice Singhvi retired before he could take it further. Rest of the advocates, they have taken it in a very routine manner. ठीक है, जैसे चल रहा है चलने दो, that kind of thing. So,
do you have
answering your question, Supreme Court could have been more strict. It could have been harsh. It could have been. It has not wielded all the powers which it has to sort of compel the states to implement the directions.
So, do you have any expectation from the present CJI Justice Gavai regarding police reform? Would you like to say something?
नहीं, फिर से बताइए क्या कह रहे हैं आप?
Do you have any expectation from the present CJI Justice Gavai regarding police reform, or would you like to say something to the new CJI regarding this matter?
Look, the CJI should take up the matter. It has already figured before him. But you see, the problem in this case, it's a very complicated case. And at the last hearing, I got the impression that the CJI, the bench, has still not got proper understanding of the case. In fact, this was Mr. Prashant Bhushan's observation कि देखिए सिंह साहब, अभी इन लोगों को ये केस अभी समझ में नहीं आया है, और ये जब तक समझ में आएगा तब तक इनका टेन्योर खत्म हो जाएगा. मुश्किल तो ये है. तो ये प्रॉब्लम अब सीजीआई साहब से क्या कहें. मतलब the last CJI with whom I made sincere request, that was Mr. Justice Chandrachud, because I knew he has a full tenure. and people had told me that he's a brilliant judge. So I had a lot of expectations from him, and I personally spoke to him also on one occasion when I happened to meet him at a party where he was invited and I was also invited. तो
Yeah.
मैंने मौका निकाल के कहा सीजीआई साहब से कि जरा इसको देख लें, इसको मतलब मामले को आगे बढ़ाइए, and he responded positively.
Mhm.
And then the advocate, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, he mentioned the case twice, thrice. Before the Chief Justice that this matter should be taken up. But I mean, I don't know why Justice Chandrachud never took up the case, not for even one day. I was very disappointed with his indifference to what I think was a very important case, as compared to several other cases where he took a lot of interest. He took a lot of interest in the same-sex marriage. No, I don't think that is such a big issue, same-sex marriage, in which he was taking so much personal interest. But police reforms case, it was not taken up by him, even though we kept on reminding him, and even though, I mean, we kept on requesting the central registry कि भाई इसको list करा दो. So it's a, I mean, I'm sorry to say that the judges in general feel that it's a complicated case and they will not be able to persuade the states to. But the point is, if you can't persuade, why can't you issue a firm direction and say that all right, we'll hold you for hold you for contempt.
Yeah.
See, that nobody does. As I said, I filed 4 contempt petitions at different periods of time, but they never even issued a notice. So
Uh,
there is
yeah.
some kind of indifference, or you can say they're losing their zest and their enthusiasm and their josh for police reforms.
If you can answer my final question, with growing concern about misuse of agencies like CBI, NIA, and ED, do you think same principle of independence should apply to central investigating agencies as well?
See, it is a fact that agencies are misused, but the unfortunate part is that every government in power is doing it. Now, some is doing it 50%, somebody is doing it 60%. That's all you can say.
Yeah.
But they're all misusing it. I remember Digvijay Singh, who was the Congress minister from Madhya Pradesh. He at one time, when the Congress was UP was in power, he at one time made a very infamous statement. He said, "हमारे पास CBI है."
Hmm.
अरे भाई, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय सेइंग हमारे पास सीबीआई है?
Yeah.
ये कोई स्टेटमेंट है हमारे पास सीबीआई है? मतलब आप धमकिया रहे हैं कि मेरे पास सीबीआई मैं तुम्हें फँसा दूँगा? मुकदमे यही ना मतलब हुआ? This is what he said. So, Congress has misused CBI, the present government has also misused CBI. This is a very serious matter, and I really don't know how to, uh, although there is an order about how the director CBI should be selected. But the point is, even after selection, even when you ensure he's selected by a committee comprising the Chief Justice, the Prime Minister, and leader of the opposition in the Parliament. So that is the committee. Now this is a very powerful committee, and the Chief Justice is there, leader of opposition is there. Uh, but even then, you see, once a man gets elevated to that post, he finds it very difficult to resist pressures from the government. He
Yeah.
finds it very difficult to, and in high-profile cases, I've seen. I mean, there are so many high-profile cases. I mean, I'm personally aware of some cases relating to disproportionate assets of certain chief ministers. There were very clear cases against them, and they could have been sort of charge sheeted, and they could have been got sentenced uh, very heavily. But it so happens that there were periods of time when the party in power was looking for more support in the parliament, and so they were depending on these parties. तो भाई अगर उनसे वोट लेना है तो उनके लीडर को कैसे आप सजा कराइएगा? So I mean, this is how they managed to get away. You see, one thing we have to remember: there are so many things to be looked into, but one thing which is, I think, central, pivotal, and very key is the ability of criminal elements to get elected and then infiltrate into parliament. This is a very serious problem, and if we do not address it, all our attempts to reform, whether it is judiciary or prosecution or police or whatever it is, all our efforts will get neutralized. भाई जब आप चोरों को, बेईमानों को आप पार्लियामेंट में बैठा देंगे, तो वो तो हमारे हुक्मरान हैं, सारी पॉलिसी वही बनाते हैं, सारे एक्ट वही बनाते हैं, वे कैसे कैसे गाड़ी चलेगी? फिर कैसे विकसित भारत होगा या विकृत भारत होगा, मेरे तो ये नहीं समझ में आता। We must address this problem, and if we don't address this problem, we'll have a very the wrong kind of government, and a wrong kind of government cannot give a healthy democracy. ठीक है, रुपया पैसा बहुत हो जाएगा, रुपया पैसा बहुत होने से नहीं पर वैल्यूज तो नहीं रहेंगी। रुपया पैसा बहुत होगा पर सब लोग अपना मस्ती करेंगे, सब लोग दंगा फसाद करेंगे, सब लोग अपनी अपनी अंपायर बनाएंगे और जनता को बेवकूफ बनाने के लिए दो चार स्कीमें चला देंगे। ठीक है, देखिए आपको आपको रेवड़ी खिला रहे हैं। तो दिस इज a very central problem. A man with a criminal background should not be given ticket. He should not. वो आदमी कांस्टेबल तो बन नहीं सकता। अब देखिए, I mean, look at the irony of it. If he applies for the job of a constable, he'll be rejected. That you have a criminal case against you. But he can contest the election and he can become an honorable member of parliament. What is this tamasha? What is this? Is a joke.
Okay, sir. Thanks for sharing your perspective. We'll be back next time with another expert. Thanks for watching. Take care. Keep your environment clean. Goodbye.